Well guys, it was a sea of green out there today. Oh my goodness. And what do I go ahead and do? I go ahead and say, let me buy some of that red one. Good old Oobity Booba stock. I loaded the boat on Uber stock here today. I'm going to explain to you guys exactly in detail why I bought Uber stock so heavy today. I'm going to share with you guys exactly how many shares I bought, what cost I paid for these different shares, as well as hopefully explain my full bullish thesis around Uber stock in this particular video. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button and make sure you share this video with your mama. Okay, let's start getting into this. By the way, this is a huge move. Okay, I don't usually make $20,000+ moves in a given day in the stock market. It's pretty rare I buy that much in a day, but I did go ahead and do that today. Okay, first one's up here. I bought 193 shares in one account. $27.98 I paid for those particular shares, those 193 there. This was a $5,400 move right there. In another account, I bought 215 shares. I paid $28.06 per share for those particular shares, and that was a little over a $6,000 move there. In another account, this was a really big move I made in this account, and I believe this was done in the public account. I believe this particular move, which is available in my private stock group, it's linked down there in the description if you want to go ahead and check that out. 435 shares I bought in the public account here today. I paid just over $28 a share for those particular shares. $12,184 worth of shares there in that account. And if you go ahead and do the math there, add up all those numbers, $23,618 worth of Uber stock I went ahead and bought here today. And if you know anything about me, it's not like I'm trying to buy this for like a one-day trade or something like this. Like, I believe a lot in Uber's vision, and I'm going to explain that in detail in this video, okay? But let's talk about the short term first before we get into the long term on this company and the valuation, those sorts of things, okay? First off, this stock is in the absolute hurricane, okay? It's in the hurricane right now. When I talk about a stock that's in a hurricane right now, it's essentially a stock that just is getting bad news after bad news, bad publicity, negative articles written about it, and on top of that, Wall Street not believing in that. And that's exactly what has happened to Uber stock. Look at the valuation on Uber, okay? We're talking about a market cap on this company of under $48 billion. Keep in mind, just in 2018, they were talking about this company had over $100 billion valuation. And just since the company has went public, the valuation has come down a ton, okay? So we're literally getting this company for a valuation under $50 billion. And Uber is not the only stock that has had to go through the quote-unquote hurricane before. I'm going to show you two other stocks I have big positions in that have gone in the hurricane. Kind of is, one of them has been a little bit in 2019. The other one was actually more 2018. And this just happens with stocks sometimes. It's just in the middle of a hurricane, they're throwing bad news at it, bad news at it, bad news at it. The stock price seems to continue to decline. And when you're looking at it, it's like there's actually a lot of promising things there, but they just can't even be seen right now because of the gauntlet of negativity that is thrown at a particular stock at a particular time, okay? First example I will give you of a stock that was caught in the hurricane was Facebook stock. If you go back to late last year and early this year, it was just caught up in the hurricane of bad news. It seemed like there was just bad news on bad news for Facebook. All the articles being written about Facebook were all negative. There was nothing but talk about regulation. There still is talk about more regulation coming for Facebook and fines and things like that. But at that particular time, like it was just in the heart of the hurricane. Even though Facebook was doing some amazing things for their business, it just couldn't shine through at those particular times. What I go ahead and do, I built Facebook into my biggest position. To this day, it is still my biggest position across my accounts. It is a stock I absolutely love, and it's a stock I have no plans to sell out of maybe ever, but certainly not anytime soon. That one has a lot of room to run, and I went ahead and I built a massive position in a very short amount of time when it was caught into the massive hurricane, okay? Another company has been caught in the hurricane probably like 3 separate times in the matter of the last 2 years is Tesla stock. This was caught in the hurricane back when the 420 tweets happened. It was caught in the hurricane again very shortly after that, okay? And then basically in 2019 for the whole first half of the year, it was caught in a hurricane of negativity and people not understanding, even though there was a lot of amazing things going on with Tesla and like putting up these amazing numbers and these amazing volumes for their cars. People couldn't see through it. Like most people couldn't see see through it. All they were seeing was the negativity, the negative articles that were being written about Tesla, about Elon Musk, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just caught in this hurricane of negativity, and the share price continued to decline. And that's what it was for Tesla. And obviously, the story has changed massively now, and it's kind of, broken out of that hurricane of negativity that was around Tesla and obviously Elon Musk in basically a lot of 2018 into here in early 2019, and it's been up and up ever since. Okay, so I'm not saying that necessarily is going to exactly happen here with Uber stock. If I'm looking for similarities, this happens with stocks. It's just a ton of negativity. So much negativity is thrown at you, you can't even see the good. And in a stock like Uber right now, I feel like Wall Street can't even see the good in the stock. All they're looking at is the bad because so much bad is being thrown at it. Same thing happened with Facebook. Same exact thing happened with Tesla. I mean, look at the share price of Uber. It explains itself. It's just caught in the middle of the hurricane. I mean, just look at the stock chart. It's plain and simple. And keep in mind, the valuation of this company came down massively before they even went public. And still, it has been down and down and down. But I believe there's a good probability that things will completely change for Uber in 2020, and this company will slowly start to climb out of this hurricane of negativity in 2020. Let me explain exactly why I believe in 2020 this company, the stock's going to get moving in the right direction. And if I hadn't already built a position, I would be regretting it because I believe the stock will start to move up and move up and move up in 2020. Okay, and we'll finish off here with the short-term stuff, and then we'll get into more long-term stuff here with Uber. Okay, so in terms of 2020, first thing we got to think about is 2021. CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, I can never pronounce his last name. Okay, he predicts that the company will be profitable by 2021, which means a lot of Wall Street money will probably start coming in this stock in 2020, anticipating the company gets to profitability in 2021, because the thought has always been around Uber that they can't get profitable. There's just going to be a money loser forever. And that's been the main bearish point you could make on this stock. But if the company continues to show progress quarter after quarter in 2020, and it starts inching closer and closer and closer to profitability, all of a sudden the bears and just people that might be on the sideline with Uber stock are going to see these numbers start to represent, oh my gosh, they are going to get to profitability. Things are getting better and better and better. And the losses, if you're going to look at them on a year-on-year basis, like 2019 versus 2020, it won't even be close. Like 2020, the losses will be minuscule when you compare them to 2019. And so I think a lot of investor momentum will start plowing into the stock in 2020 to get ready for the profitability coming in 2021 and moving in further years. And then it's going to turn into a cash cow company, and everybody's going to be like, wait a minute. We thought this company couldn't make any money. Now they're a cash cow. What the heck happened? That's exactly, in my opinion, what will happen with Uber. And if you're wondering, is this CEO some fly-by-night guy who's just making some crazy predictions? No, okay? Dara is a hell of a CEO, okay? This guy was one of the highest paid CEOs in 2016. He basically led Expedia. The gross value of Expedia's hotel and other travel bookings more than quadrupled, and its pre-tax earnings more than doubled under Carr's leadership. And they also acquired companies like Travelocity, Orbitz, and HomeAway while he led the company. And he had to believe there were some big things coming for Uber, okay? He left $184 million in unvested stock options when he left Expedia, okay? So this obviously has to be a guy that believes he's going to make a lot more money under Uber from a lot of the stock options he can get in that company over time. Along with it, the company has more and more success over time. He should be able to get a bigger and bigger salary. So from a financial landscape, world impact landscape, he's got to view this as this is a much, much bigger opportunity than something like Expedia, which he was leading before, okay? And this is a guy that I've listened to conference calls, I've listened to a ton of interviews with him, and I absolutely love this guy, and I think he definitely has the right vision for Uber over time. And I love that he's willing to put his mouth where his money is, okay? He spent almost $7 million a couple weeks ago on buying 250,000 Uber shares in the open market. Almost $7 million in the open market. That is not something he had to do. That is something he's looking at and he's like, I believe in this company long term, and I believe these shares are at a silly value right now. And usually if you see a CEO of a company make a mass purchase like this, I'm not talking about some little purchase where they buy like $10,000 worth of stock or $100K worth of stock. I'm talking about when they're buying millions on the open market. It's not like stock options they're getting. They're buying on the open market for millions of dollars. Usually that means that the CEO is looking at that and they're saying, our stock's trading at stupid prices right now, and it would be stupid of me not to put a lot of money in this stock. Right now, I mean, a CEO knows more about that company than anybody else in the company, and they're gonna have a good idea if the stock is ridiculously undervalued. And whenever you see a CEO go out there and purchase millions of dollars worth of the stock, it usually shows that one, they believe in the company a lot, and two, they believe the shares are trading at a silly price. And that's exactly what happened. Dara said, hey man, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna put almost 7 million. That's a lot of money to put in the stock for somebody like Dara. He's not a billionaire. He's rich, but he's not a billionaire, okay? Now, if you look at the board of directors, looking a little more on the long-term vision for this company and why I love this stock so much for the long term. If you look at the board of directors of Uber, it's a hell of a board of directors, okay? Their chairman of the board is Ursula Burns, who's one of the most powerful business women in all of the world, okay? Very good chairman of the board. Then you look at two other fellows there, okay? Garrett Camp and Travis Kalanick. Both of those guys are the co-founders of Uber, and I think their experience and their knowing of Uber is going to be extremely valuable to the company over time. And as long as both of them still have significant stakes in the company, I want them on the board of directors. Both have sold out some shares, basically when the company went public, to diversify wealth and put some money in some other projects both of them are doing. But at the end of the day, both these guys combined own billions of dollars worth of Uber stock, and I definitely love that both the co-founders are on the board of directors. And I hope, as long as they want to be shareholders of the company and have billions of dollars invested in this company, I always want them on the board of directors. I think that's great leadership on the board of directors, having those two guys still on there. Obviously, you have Dara there, who's the CEO. He absolutely needs to be on the board of directors. You have Martillo on there, okay? He's the executive vice president of Nestle, a massive conglomerate there. You have Yasir, who's a managing director, okay? And keep in mind, he comes from Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. Definitely, you know, someone you want on your board of directors. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, probably gonna want them on the board of directors, okay? You have Ronald Sugar, who's the chair of the board, okay? He's a former chairman and CEO of Northrop Grumman, which is a huge defense contractor for the United States, okay? You have John, who's the former chairman and CEO of CIT Group. And lastly, you have David Trujillo, who's a partner over there at TPG Capital, okay? So needless to say, I love the board of directors of this company. A good board of directors is definitely, you know, something you need when you're talking about a company that has, you know, dreams of being a multi-$100 billion type market cap company, meaning one of the biggest, one of the most influential, one of the most important companies in the world, which is where Uber is headed over time, in my opinion, okay? First reason I love this company, the Uber app, the #1 player in ride sharing in the entire world. And that will be a business that gets very, very profitable over the next few years. And the main reason is, if you look at market by market, they usually only have 1 or 2 competitors in each market, okay? And keep in mind, all these competitors they all have pressures now to get profitable. So if you look at like the US market, right? A huge opportunity for Uber to make a ton of profits over time. Uber and Lyft are the 2 players you have to pick from if you're gonna take a ride somewhere. Most people take an Uber, but if for some reason you're not gonna take an Uber, then you take a Lyft, okay? Now, if we look at those 2 companies right there, there's a lot of pressure on both of them to get profitable. How do you get profitable? It's not like rocket science. You raise your rides 50 cents, $1, $2, something that's not gonna make the difference between somebody saying, gosh, I can't take this ride because it's 75 cents more expensive than it was last year. Somebody doesn't do that. But that 75-cent difference can end up making a world of difference for a company like Uber when you're talking about, you know, millions and millions of rides on a daily basis or something like that. So that's obviously a massive opportunity, and that's going to be market by market. It's going to become a very profitable business over time. And some markets are already profitable for Uber on the rides business. Uber Eats obviously is a huge potential profit engine for the company over time. Dara was asked in an interview recently, he said, what's going to be your guys' Amazon Web Services? What's going to be the thing that takes you guys over the top and makes a ton of profits for the company? And he basically said, well, our rideshare business is going to be the first one, and then our second one is going to be Uber Eats over time. And Uber Eats is a ton of VC money that has come into that industry over the course of the last, let's say, couple years. I mean, you can look at even the last 5 or 10 years, there's been a lot of VC money, but specifically over the last year, it's been a ton. That money is going to get spent, and that money is going to get dried up, and we're even starting to see early signs that. You look at something like Postmates. Postmates cuts dozens of jobs and shuts Mexico City office after investors turn on the cash-burning businesses. So if you look at this, like obviously a lot of this VC money, this easy money sloshing around in food delivery right now, everybody trying to win market share, that's going to dry up over the course of next year, and this will end up emerging, Uber Eats will end up emerging as the number 1 or number 2 player in almost every market you want to be in. And what's going to end up happening over time is that's going to become a very profitable business as well. So over time, you'll end up having the ride-sharing business be a very profitable business and Uber Eats being a very profitable business. The only reason these businesses haven't been profitable yet is because there's been so much VC money thrown in here for these companies that they've been able to do so many promotions and things like that cause the companies to lose money just because they're trying to win market share. The market share battle is about over for these companies, and a lot of these VC funds are looking at it and they're like, who cares if we get a 10% market share or 14% market share? We'd rather get 10% market share and start making some profits than a 14% market share and lose a bunch of money. So that's the way a lot of the VC managers are starting to look at it. When money dries up, profitability will explode for this company, okay? Uber Freight's coming. No one sees this, okay? Uber Freight is essentially being the middleman between drivers and shippers in the freight industry. And historically, like, it was a complicated process. Well, I mean, still to this day, if you're a shipper, you call one of these companies and they try to reach out to drivers, and it's kind of a mess. And if you know anything about the trucking industry, you've ever been a trucker yourself, you understand that something like Uber Freight can be incredibly valuable. And this is another thing that should help out profitability for the long term of Uber. And basically, Uber is coming in and they're going to make things a lot more efficient, a lot more easy for not only the drivers, but also the shippers. And so the drivers get to decide exactly when they want to drive, exactly what they want to drive, the specifics around that, and choose, do I want to take this ride or not? Exactly how much am I going to get paid? And Uber is acting as a middleman, and they're taking hardly anything for a fee out of this compared to like 15 to 20% a lot of the traditional players pay there. So this is just a massive opportunity for Uber, and should, you know, be a very profitable business over the long term and make Uber one of the most important companies, not just in like rideshare and eats, but also just the transportation sector in general. When you think about the freight industry, which is multi-hundreds of billions, like the freight industry in the US alone is like, I think it's over 800 billion. We're not talking about small potatoes here, okay? And Uber will continue to take market share, and that will be a multi-billion-dollar business a quarter in the future. You obviously have Uber doing some very interesting things with their Jump business, which has bikes and scooters, and I know Dara's even talked about a new product coming in the future, which we'll have to see what that is. That's kind of more on the underground. That's kind of the last mile type thing where maybe you don't want to take an Uber ride, but you might take that scooter down the road for $1.50 because it's cheaper than actually getting in a car, and you only got to go, you know, 10 blocks down there or something like that, okay? Now, also, Uber has massive investments in a ton of different companies that are seeing their valuations go up and up. One of those is Didi, which is the biggest player in China. It's like basically like the Uber of China is what Didi is, okay? And Uber has a major, significant percentage of ownership in Didi, which is worth billions upon billions of dollars, okay? In Southeast Asia, there's a big player over there called Grab, and guess who's got a big ownership stake of Grab? It would also be Uber. In Russia, Uber has a big ownership stake in a company named Yandex, okay? So it's not just Uber like expanding their business around the world and doing some of those sorts of things. They have major ownership positions in some other huge companies that are seeing their valuations go up and up and up and seeing their businesses really take off, okay? Speaking about take off, aerial ride sharing at scale is the next big growth vector for Uber. When you're looking at 2023 and beyond, this is a little further out. Basically, Uber has this vision of making mass markets. I don't want to call them necessarily drones, but they're kind of like helicopters, but quieter, more efficient, and they run off electric rather than gasoline, okay? And they basically have a vision for making these products for all the congested markets around the world where basically you need aerial transportation. And these are vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts. Absolutely amazing stuff, and man, I would love to take one of these. It looks like a lot of fun. They would build skyports for these, which would be capable of handling up to 1,000 landings per hour, okay? And be able to have a footprint that is very dense, okay? So you look at some of these images and you can definitely get a vision of this. And when you think about the traffic congestion that is in most mass cities where tons and tons of people live, right? The only way to really beat that is to go in the air, okay? And so the only way we can ever cut down some of these commute, I mean, if you live in Los Angeles, I mean, your commute time could be over an hour each way. And I mean, you go big city by big city, the traffic problem is an epidemic. And the only way you can really cut down on that is by going up in the air, and something like this could be an absolute game changer. And these would be obviously wholly owned by Uber, so whichever profit they'd be making the full profit on that, which would be amazing. And it is absolutely a big infrastructure build out that would happen. But if I'm looking at the probability that Uber will be very, very profitable by the time they start building some of these in mass, if Uber is getting to a place where they're making $5 to $10 billion of net income per year, that's a lot of money they can stuff in and build some of these skyports and obviously build these vertical landing aircrafts in mass. So very, very exciting, okay? Other big thing, if you look at a few years down the road, is Uber's ability to make self-driving cars, and this is something they continue to expand out into, and this is obviously the future. Robo-taxi networks are absolutely the future, and if we look at this, and I just look at this, I think Uber is going to be likely one of the biggest players in there. They got some great tech that's going on. They're partnering with a lot of companies right now, and they have the Uber brand name. So if you're used to getting in a car, you're used to getting in an Uber car, so it's very natural that as long as they have the technology ready for when all this stuff is allowed to actually, it could be at least probably 2 to 4 years until not only the technology is ready, but the government allows for a car to be basically driving other people around with nobody in the front seat. Probably at least a few years away from that, because the government doesn't move fast in these things, and it's got to go through the state, it's got to go through local, it's going to be a mess, and obviously it's probably going to have to go through the federal level as well. But if I look at this, it's going to be between Tesla and Uber, in my personal opinion, on who will be the number one and who will be the number two players there. And if you look at a company like Waymo, they're doing some pretty interesting stuff as well, but at the end of the day with Waymo, I don't think they have the brand to make it super successful. If I just look at Waymo, people are like, I don't even know what Waymo is. If you look at Tesla has this amazing brand that is so cool, and just to get driven in a Tesla car in general is like an experience in itself. And if you think about, the way Tesla's kind of branding itself with the autopilot features and whatnot, and the videos where people take of people, sleeping while driving, they already have an amazing brand there. Uber has an amazing brand in the sense of if you're getting into a car and you're getting a ride somewhere, you're used to getting Uber ride. So if I'm really looking at it, I think it's going to be my two of my bigger investments are actually going to be fighting over who's number one, number two. The good news is, in the robo-taxi network, there's going to be plenty of money to go around, because that's going to be a massive market. So regardless if Uber wins it, if Tesla wins it, it's all gravy in the end for someone like myself that is invested in both companies there. But in my opinion, those companies have the brand, and I think they're going to have a huge advantage, not just on the tech side, but on the branding and marketing side, which is absolutely very important with something like this over somebody like a Waymo. So Waymo is going to try to fight, but I think they might run into some brand and marketing issues compared to somebody like Uber that people are used to getting in the cars, and Tesla that has that unbelievably cool brand behind it. So needless to say, I love Uber stock. I love Uber stock here, and that's why I'm buying the stock very heavy, and I will continue to buy the stock as long as it's in the 20s. I will continue to buy the stock, but if I had to guess, I don't think the stock will be in the 20s for too long. I think a lot of investor momentum will likely move into this stock in 2020 as the company inches closer and closer to profitability. I think Wall Street will start getting some faith in this company and start realizing, oh, maybe they are going to make some money in this business model over time. So hope you guys enjoy this. Always make sure you smash the thumbs up button and share this video with somebody that will think it's interesting. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.